I had the amazing opportunity to fly with Etihad Airlines A380 business class from JFK to Abu Dhabi, and wow, was I impressed. In this video, we're going to discuss what it's like to fly business class and all my highlights of this long 13-hour flight. I was crazy enough to book a flight on Thanksgiving Eve at JFK Airport, and we all know it's one of the busiest days of the year, especially at JFK in New York City. One of the awesome things about booking either first class or business class is that you have priority boarding and a dedicated line separating you from everybody else, and of course you have access to the business class lounge, which I'll do a separate video in itself. The process is super easy. All they do is look at your ticket and you have carte blanche to the entire lounge. Once I was done eating, relaxing, and having a cocktail, I made off to my gate. So while I was patiently waiting at my gate, I did a little research. So Etihad's A380 is a two-story giant. On the first floor, it accommodates a whopping 415 economy seats. On the upper deck, where I'll be boarding, holds 70 business class cabins and 9 first class cabins. We add all these numbers up, and that is a mammoth of a plane that could potentially hold an eye-watering total of 494 people. So with the priority boarding, I boarded right away, and because there were so many passengers flying today, I boarded just about an hour before our scheduled departure. Hi, how are you?
Fantastic. Yourself?
Yes, great.
Perfect. You can turn left at the lobby, sir.
Okay, great, thank you. Hi, how are you? Once I boarded, I was really taken aback of how luxurious the galley looked. As a first-time passenger, I was trying to take in as much as I could while I was walking to my seat. I will admit, it was a little surreal at first because finally I'm experiencing Etihad's business class in person instead of just watching it on YouTube or watching and seeing some pictures. My seat is located at 9H, which is located all the way at the front of the business class area. I'm also only one seat away from the bar/lounge area, which can be a little dangerous since I have 13 hours to eat, sleep, drink, and watch TV. On the plus side though, besides the first class passengers, however many there are, I'll be one of the first people off the plane. While I was sitting down for a few minutes, I smelled a really nice citrusy perfume. I looked around for a second and it was all guys around me, but then I saw a flight attendant walking down the aisle and she was spraying a fragrance down as she walked. That was definitely a first for me, as I've never seen that on any of my flights. All the flight attendants were diligent, worked feverishly, and were extremely attentive to each passenger's needs. They all worked very hard to get everyone comfortable and situated. Hot towels were then distributed to all passengers, followed by a glass of champagne, a mocktail, or whatever drink you savvied. Once I got done cleaning my hands and wiping my face, a few minutes after, a flight attendant came by asking what you would like to drink. I chose a glorious, bubbly champagne. And for the next few minutes, I just kicked back, relaxed, and enjoyed the scenery and the journey I was about to embark on. I was super excited to see what cool amenities and treats my little cabin offered. We were given some cool slippers if you wanted to wear them, and a blanket, of course. But I'll give you a heads up, unlike other airlines, you have an air vent on the top above your head. And in business class, this one is particularly, you do not have that. I felt like it was a little on the warm side, but it wasn't overly hot. There's plenty of leg room when the seat was upright, and you even had a cubby there to put your shoes. So I took my shoes, put them down there. Eventually put some other stuff down there as the flight went on. It took a few more minutes to kick back, relax, and people watch before I dove into everything my seat and little cabin offered. I saved this for my 10-year-old daughter because I knew she would love this. A cool little stylish amenity bag that looked like a small purse filled with little small toiletries, which I'll go into in a minute. And of course you have this beautiful 18.5-inch touchscreen HD TV that is definitely easy to use and navigate either through your TV or your remote, whichever one you want.
Now,
It says limited edition. So, let's see what's in it. You have sleeping mask. Okay. Toothbrush. Some lotion. And some lip treatment. Because we all know we need some lip treatment on a 12-hour flight. So here's the remote control I was talking about. You just press the button, it comes right out. Unfortunately, it is corded, so you're limited to that with how far you could pull it out. The LCD screen was very intuitive, responsive. The quality of the LCD screen was high definition, and you had a ton of different features on there. Playing games, you could choose your movies with your TV, so you had a lot. And here's just a quick demonstration I showed of how intuitive and responsive the remote control was, whether you were swiping left and right or hitting the controls left and right. If you remember earlier in the video, I smelled like a citrusy aroma that I thought was a lady putting on perfume, but ended up being a flight attendant going down the aisle spraying a bottle of fragrance, which I happened to catch while I was recording. So I just started, I kept messing around with the remote, seeing what the flight time was, looking at what different movies they had to offer, and stuff like that, just to get more acquainted with the whole system. I feel like a little kid. Here I just was playing around with it, showing the image quality and how in detail it was. And here are the ergonomic controls for your seat, and all the way to the right, as you can tell by the image, is where you press to put your seat into a bed. And just like that, before you know it, we were asked to put on our seatbelts and we were airborne. This is a pretty cool feature, but a lot of airlines are doing this now. It's a feature where you get to see a live view of the tail of the plane and its surroundings. We were finally in the air and beginning our 7,000-mile journey to Abu Dhabi. So while we were still climbing in altitude and the seatbelt sign was still on, I started to mess around with the fixed touchscreen, which also controlled your seat. Whether you wanted to go backward or forward or recline to a bed, it did it all. And you could also turn on your nightlight, which is on the lower right-hand corner of the screen. So this was pretty wild. By messing around with the screen, I saw that my seat's firmness can be adjusted by air pockets that are in the seat itself. So if I wanted to have a super firm bed when I go to sleep later, you just mess with the settings. You toggle it between going up and down, and you definitely feel it moving by the air going out of the seat or the seat getting firm by putting a lot more air into those pockets. So I was messing around with that. It was pretty cool because I've never experienced on any flight ever throughout my years of flying. Interestingly enough, which I could easily control the shades myself by hand if I wanted to, but for whatever reason, you use the touchscreen to close the open and close the shades. And I found out later on in the night, they actually disabled everyone from opening up the shades. And also we have that night light if you wanted to, which was right behind me to my left, if you wanted to turn that on and off. You also had another night light that's predominantly used for reading and also when you have a meal at nighttime. A closer look at some of the functionality and the controls of how to use it. So here you go up and down with the firmness of the seat, whether you want it softer, And you could tell right there that the air is being pumped in to make it a little bit more firmer. I believe I set mine on like 2 or 3 because you don't want something at 1 because then it feels like you're not sleeping on anything. So, and then of course you have here, you can adjust the pitch of the seat, whether you want it forward, backwards more. And again, a closer view of the shade, of closing it, opening it. Very easy, intuitive. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's a ton of storage, and here you can easily fit your laptop and an iPad. And here also you have your headphones stored in here as well, and a bottle of water, which I know I'll be having since I'm dangerously close to the bar / lounge area. The headphones were light, very comfortable, and ergonomically fit perfectly on my head. One thing to make note is where the plug is. It took me a minute to find it, but it's situated in between the seat and the storage area. Don't worry if you have a hard time plugging it in because it took me a few seconds. Once I got done getting antiquated with the cabin, I got up and walked around the plane to be nosy and explore. And of course, I had to check out the business class bathroom. I'm not gonna lie, of all the videos I've seen on YouTube, the bathrooms looked pretty nice. But when I walked into mine, it was nice, but it wasn't as nice as I was expecting, I guess I should say. Yeah, there was a lot of room. There were some nice little finishing touches that separated what an economy class bathroom looked like into a business class, but it didn't wow me. After I checked out the bathroom, I made my way up to the front of the plane where the bar and lounge area was. And I could say the lounge area was really cool. The seats had a nice soft leather feel to them. They were super comfortable. And they had a nice round table that wasn't put up yet. They put that up, I guess, later on in the flight because for a little while it wasn't up. You also had a pretty big TV that was in the lounge area that initially in the beginning of the flight gave you all the flight details, but eventually it switched over to CNN for the rest of the flight. All I know is that I am happy to be on this plane and not at JFK because it was crazy there, and I don't know what I was thinking of booking, but I made it and I'm on the flight. And of course, the main attraction, the bar. This watering hole did not fall short of having a great selection of fine wines, champagne, and top shelf liquor. For the people that have taken this flight or plan on taking this flight, I will tell you that depending on who the flight attendant was, I know that they were super busy all the time. So I'd help myself, and they had no problem doing that. But if you have a flight attendant that might have had some downtime, they said they would gladly help you, serve you or me or whoever. I told them that I know that they were always working hard, so I just helped myself, and they were okay with that. So depending on who sees you helping yourself at the bar, they'll be more than happy to serve you, or they'll just let you do your thing. The flight attendants were always professional. They always closed the curtains when they were preparing food. Right here, this kitchen galley was for the first class passengers, and I could just tell that they were always busy. So I just helped myself at the bar whenever I wanted to. So I relaxed, had a Bailey's on the rocks before I went back to my seat to order some dinner. So each menu had a cool Formula One car on the front, since Abu Dhabi hosts the finale of the Grand Prix, and that was going on in 2 weeks' time from when I was on the flight. I know we were just at the bar, but you can order yourself whatever selection of red wine, white wine. You had a selection there to have a flight attendant come and get you whatever you needed. And of course, the meat and potatoes of the menu is the main entrees, the starters, appetizers. This menu was unbelievable, and I was going to have to be rolled out of the plane once I arrived in Abu Dhabi. So once I was waiting for the flight attendant, I was messing around with my tray of how it works, how it folds up nicely. Here you can tell it just folds in, slides in nicely, and there's a spring that keeps it in. I had my first appetizer. I had some hummus, some bread, some rice, a little bit of beef, and wow, it was unbelievable. An absolute grand slam of a starter. You were given some cool oil and vinegar, a glass nice bottle of, I can't remember what company it came from, and then a really nice cool little jar of individualized salt and pepper. When I was done having my salad, I was ready for the main course. And of course, the smells that were emanating off of my plate from the food, I cannot wait to devour this. The first 2 bites were absolutely out of this world and very savory. Now I understand why people rave about Etihad's first class and business class food. The food, well, unfortunately didn't last that long. I did my best to savor every morsel. I was full as a tick, the drinks were kicking in, and I was ready to watch a movie and go to bed. I eventually reclined my seat all the way down to the bed, and I was ready to watch a movie and just chill out for the rest of the night. Like myself, all the passengers were now getting settled in and ready for bed, and there were some that were already asleep and snoring loud enough to make me wonder if it was the plane or not. I can tell you that this experience has been an absolute dream. From the service to the amenities and the comfort of my bed and seat made my flight a memorable one that I will never forget. I eventually fell asleep, minus going to the bathroom once or twice and drinking so much water. I got around 7 hours of sleep. And before I could wipe the sandies out of my eyes, the flight attendants were going around asking passengers what they wanted to order for breakfast. After my breakfast, for the first time, I think ever, on a long-haul flight, I felt full, refreshed, and well-rested, ready to take on the day. We arrived in Abu Dhabi in the morning, and we just started to do our descent. I want to take this time to thank my viewers and to also subscribe to my channel for a ton more content coming in the near future. This has been an amazing experience, and I can't wait to share more in-flight reviews in the near future. And stay tuned for my next video of the luxurious Ritz-Carlton in Abu Dhabi. This is Passport Planet, signing out.